Rune arts, a sacred power said to have existed since the dawn of humanity. Those chosen by fate to be born with rune arts ruled over all creation with supernatural forces that defied nature, reigning as the leaders of all things. Under their dominion, ancient humanity praised rune arts as a blessing bestowed by the gods, a miracle they called it. But among countless runes, there was one, a singular and infamous rune, branded as a curse, the rune of Asura. A boy was seen running, his body impaled with the weapons of his pursuers. He was chased down, cursed at, and driven away as a monster, marked for ruin. Since ancient times, it was said that those born with this rune, without fail, brought destruction. The boy eventually escaped and collapsed in a forest. As he lay there, he caught sight of people in the distance. They recoiled at the sight of him, horrified by the blood that drenched his body. Yet, despite their shock, they approached, and one among them urged for the bleeding to be stopped, calling upon the use of rune arts. 7 years later, in a small village, several villagers were being questioned. They insisted that they knew nothing, demanding to know why the rune of Asura would even be in such a place, and telling the intruders to leave after tearing their homes apart. Reluctantly, the men questioning them departed, one mocking the villagers as being loud and troublesome. When the search party regrouped, one of the men reported that nothing had been found. He explained that they had checked everywhere, and that there was not a single rune arts user in the area, according to the villagers. His superior, dissatisfied with the response, called the man over. When the man approached, his superior suddenly attacked him, piercing his stomach with his hand. Another man screamed in shock, crying out for his brother. The superior sneered at them, declaring that they could not hope to find someone without rune arts or mana, for he could already sense the stench of utter destruction. The scene shifted to the forest. Hidden inside a hollow tree, Ban and Linda were told it was safe to come out. Emerging, Linda exclaimed how fresh the outside air felt, while Ban apologized for continually bringing trouble to the village because of him. The villagers brushed off his worries, telling him no one cared about such things, though they remarked that the two of them were always hiding there. Linda cheerfully explained that Ban liked the place, and Ban admitted it was his favorite spot in the entire village, as it was where he had been saved 7 years ago. The villagers teased him playfully, brushing dust off them both, and soon the talk turned to the preparations for the wedding, which were complete and ready to begin at sunset. That night, by the great bonfire, Ban and Linda stood before everyone. They were officially declared married and urged to say their vows. Linda boldly promised to make Ban so happy that he would cry, drawing cheers and admiration from the crowd. Ban, however, confessed with hesitation that he had brought suffering wherever he went. Plague, war, massacres, and disaster always followed him, leaving him unable to settle anywhere. He admitted that if not for being taken in 7 years ago, he would likely be dead, and he still questioned if it was right for someone carrying the rune of Asura to remain among them. Before he could continue, Linda struck him, cutting him off. She reminded him that while they had once worried when they first met, everything changed when true danger struck the village, and he had protected them all. From then on, they had decided never to fear again, and to face any future trouble together, just as they had that day. The crowd rallied in support, proclaiming their loyalty and promising to protect him. Linda's mother urged the ceremony forward, and Ban professed his love for Linda, who returned the words without hesitation. Hidden from sight, an ominous figure watched, muttering to itself before a massive explosion suddenly erupted at the bonfire. Ban slowly opened his eyes in the aftermath, only to find himself surrounded by horror. The ground was littered with corpses, and he screamed in terror, trembling as he tried to process the scene. He spotted Linda's father and mother among the dead, and desperately denied what he was seeing. The ominous figure appeared behind him, mocking him before striking him across the ground. Ban landed at the base of a tree, where the figure dragged Linda by her hair across the floor. The figure taunted him with a twisted game, warning him to hide before being found. Ban demanded to know who this being was and why such cruelty was being done to them. The figure dismissed the question, explaining that Ban's rune of Asura was needed by someone seeking the true rune it carried. It revealed that all the neighboring villages had also been wiped out, not out of hatred, but because survivors were a hassle. The figure then created a subspace prison specifically for Ban, a place where time meant nothing, whether 1,000 years or 10,000. He was told he would be released only when the time came, and until then, he was to remain sealed. As the prison closed around him, Ban's eyes fell on Linda one last time, seeing her lips move as she said something to him. He reached out in tears, but it was futile. The seal took hold, trapping him away. Inside the sealed world, Ban's thoughts raced. He reflected on the words he had heard about the true power of destruction, questioning whether it could all have been because of a single rune. He wondered if there had truly never been a way out from the start. In the end, he felt he had brought only destruction and death, bound by an inescapable fate from the moment of his birth. He believed that if he had accepted his destiny sooner, perhaps his uncle, Aunt and Linda would still be alive. Just once, he wished things could have turned out differently. He had dreamed only of an ordinary life, and because of that dream, they had died. He came to believe his foolish hopes and greed had killed everyone. Lying there, he muttered apologies to himself over and over, drowning in guilt. His mind spiraled, teetering on the brink of madness. He begged for forgiveness, cursed himself, and pleaded for death. His apologies blurred into desperate cries, a storm of sorrow and the regret that consumed him entirely. In his despair, he questioned the very existence of a god, asking why such a cruel fate would be given to him. Exhaustion overtook him, and he wished only for death, for rest, and for release. Yet, in his deepest despair, he remembered Linda's final words before he was sealed. She had told him it was not his fault, that she loved him forever. The memory darkened his expression. He denied her words, convinced that it was all his fault. He rejected the idea of simply ending things and demanded of himself what right he had to rest. Rage flared within him, and he declared to himself that he was not allowed to die yet. If the rune of Asura always brought ruin, then he no longer cared, because there was nothing left to ruin. If someone needed the rune he carried, then he would show them. He would make them feel the true destruction he bore. Death could wait. First would come his revenge, and to achieve that, he had to escape the cursed subspace. Figures emerged within the sealed world, monstrosities that rushed toward him, blaming him and demanding his death. Ban swore to himself that no matter if it took 1,000 or 10,000 years, he would have his revenge. He fought against the endless creatures of the subspace, clashing with them without pause. 200 years passed, 400 years, 600 years. Still, he fought without end. The boy who walked the path of Asura danced amidst destruction, yet remained ignorant of the secret hidden within the blood-drenched rune that chained him in despair. 999 years passed. Endless agony consumed him, but the fire of revenge within his heart refused to die. In battle, Ban charged at a massive creature. The monster slammed both of its hands down, crushing him into the ground. As he laid on the ground, his thoughts drifted to Linda once more, recalling the dream she had shared with him. She had wished to marry him, to make her parents his own, and together to raise a son and daughter, building a home filled with warmth and happiness. That was her dream, her haven. The memory ignited something deep within him. Back in the subspace, the boy finally unleashed the true power of ruin. His body erupted with overwhelming energy, and he underwent a transformation. A massive explosion shook the sealed world as the rune of Asura revealed its true nature. He wondered if this was the true power of ruin. The rune, embodying Asura, the god of ruin, summoned forth the 666 armaments, each forged with ruin's destructive force. Ban wondered if, had this power awakened on that day, no one would have died. With that thought, he prepared to attack the giant creature. With a single punch, he sent it flying, the strike carrying devastation. The monster slammed into the wall, and Ban followed, activating the first armament, a glove imbued with the power to destroy matter at the particle level, its destructive strength growing with the user's mana. He drove the punch down, crushing the creature's head completely. The residual force detonated outward, causing a massive explosion that tore apart the surroundings. The scene shifted. A man begged desperately for his life, claiming he had no money. A bandit sneered, deciding instead to take the man's organs. Suddenly, Ban appeared behind them. He asked what year it was, and the bandits laughed at the strange question. They told him it was the year 1500. Ban processed this silently, realizing that only 5 years had passed in the outside world, while he had endured centuries within subspace. At the same time, another bandit struck, but his weapon shattered against Ban's body. The bandits were stunned at the sight. Ban's expression grew dark. He instantly took down 2 of them. He then turned and drove his fist into another, smashing his body into pieces. The remains fell to the ground, leaving one bandit standing with his mouth wide open in shock. Ban faced him, and the terrified man awaited his question. On the continent of Atun, the land had long been shaped by the ancient power of rune arts. Across the ages, countless kingdoms had risen and fallen, yet one realm stood above them all as the greatest kingdom in the history of Atun, the Zoe Kingdom. With overwhelming military might, it had endured as the dominant power of the continent for generations. Ban interrogated the bandit, pressing him about the identity of a mysterious figure. The bandit admitted that the clothes Ban described were the very garments reserved only for sorcerers of Zoe's royal household, swearing he had seen the man himself. Ban demanded details, and the bandit quickly obliged. He recalled an incident from 5 years prior, when a mercenary named Kaisurak had dealings with Lord Daigle, the master of their bandit den. Kaisurak had mentioned a high-profile client and arranged a meeting, explaining that there was a lucrative job awaiting them. In a flashback, the client and Daigle were seated together at a table inside the bandit's mountain hideout. The client leaned forward and laid out the terms of the job. They were to locate a single individual and wipe out several villages, with a large payment promised in return. The offer was simple, direct, and far too profitable for Daigle to refuse. For men in their position, the task was simple. They carried it out swiftly, leaving no trace behind. The massacre produced so many corpses, all in such wretched condition, that it became a burden to burn them all. When the work was complete, the purple-haired sorcerer who had hired them paid his fee cleanly and disappeared. Ban asked if there had been a girl with short orange hair among the corpses. The bandit confirmed it. He said her presence had been striking, and she stood out from the others. Ban asked if her body was also burned. The bandit told him that it was, and even lamented her wasted beauty, remarking that she would have sold for a fortune as a slave. Before the bandit could finish speaking, Ban's fist struck him in the face with brutal force, killing him instantly. At the Daigle bandit den, the outlaws moved about with their slaves. Threats and blows drove the captives forward, their frail bodies packed into cages while the bandits mocked them. They boasted about the freshness of their stock, sneering at the way the captives had struggled, and laughed about the profit to be made from slaves that still had fight left in them. At the gate, a knock sounded. One of the guards peered outside and was met by Ban, who carried liquor as a guise. As soon as the gate opened, Ban struck, driving his fist into the guard. The other guard attacked, swinging his weapon, but Ban blocked with ease. The man unleashed a storm of strikes, yet Ban slipped past them all, closed the distance, and took him down with a single powerful punch. The commotion drew the attention of the other bandits, and they watched in shock as Ban strode forward, carrying a severed head in one hand and a body in the other. He hurled the severed head and body down before the gathered bandits, demanding their master. The outlaws sneered at his audacity, remarking on his lack of fear and questioning if he even understood where he stood. Weapons were raised as they prepared to strike him down. But before they could move, a towering figure appeared from behind, drawing all attention to his presence. Lord Daigle himself, master of the den. The bandits called out in alarm, but Daigle silenced them, commanding them to step back. He recognized Ban immediately as a sorcerer, born with the rune arts, just like himself. He stepped forward to confront him. Ban pressed him for answers about the job arranged years earlier by the mercenary Kaisurak on behalf of a Zoe Kingdom sorcerer. Daigle laughed when he realized how much Ban had uncovered from his men, mocking him and questioning what he intended to do with that knowledge. Ban demanded the whereabouts of Kaisurak, offering the lives of the bandits in exchange for the truth. Daigle only sneered at the proposal, his answer coming not in words of compliance, but with a declaration of death, aimed straight at Ban. Without warning, Daigle surged forward, his fist slamming into Ban's face, sending him flying. He mocked the young sorcerer's murderous aura, declaring that he would die here. The rune of blades awakened upon his body, sheathing him in razor edges, sharp enough to slice flesh and bone alike. Ban rose slowly from the rubble, his eyes locked on Daigle. In the next instant, he appeared before him, landing a crushing blow that forced blood from Daigle's mouth. Mockery followed the strike, further igniting Daigle's rage. Grinding his teeth, Daigle retaliated with a furious swing, but Ban evaded. Enraged, Daigle spun his body, unleashing a storm of blades in all directions. He declared that Ban would be carved apart, unable to move under such agony. Yet Ban advanced undeterred, striding through the storm of blades as if the pain were nothing. Ban stepped forward, dismissing the blades that tore into his flesh as meaningless, drawing out the true power of his Asura rune. Daigle, amused by his defiance, gathered the blades surrounding his body into the shape of a massive hand, preparing to unleash a devastating strike. Ban's thoughts turned inward as he assessed the attack. At worst, the technique could strip away skin and sever nerves. Yet to him, such torment was shallow, insignificant, compared to the abyss of agony he had long endured. With that conviction, he launched his fist forward, meeting Daigle's assault head-on. His punch tore through the colossal hand of blades, and a surge of energy erupted straight through Daigle's chest. The force of it ripped a path through the forest and shot upward into the sky itself. As the dust settled, Ban exhaled and turned toward the surviving bandits. The sight of him standing amidst the devastation filled them with nothing but terror. Later, the corpses of the bandits lay scattered across the ground, with only one left alive for Ban to interrogate. Under his questioning, the survivor revealed that Kesurak was in the Nordia kingdom. Ban confirmed the information, then feigned a promise of mercy. The bandit, desperate and trembling, clung to that hope, but Ban's expression betrayed the truth. In an instant, Ban struck him with a fatal blow, ending his life without hesitation. He dismissed the notion of sparing an enemy as nothing more than a cruel jest. As he prepared to leave, his thoughts lingered on Zoe Kingdom. Though his fury urged him to storm its gates at once, he knew he could not move forward on a bandit's word alone. Kesurak would have to be tracked down, no matter how long it took, for only then would he uncover the truth with his own eyes. His heart turned toward the memory of Linda, his uncle, his aunt, and all the others he had lost. He silently asked them to wait a little longer. What he left behind here, he considered a gift, a grim tribute born of vengeance. The corpses of the bandits had been arranged into a towering cross, a symbol of retribution. Ban cast a torch onto the piled corpses, setting them ablaze and condemning the bandits to the same fate they had once dealt to the villagers. Without looking back at the inferno, he turned and walked away, his path already set toward his first destination, the Nordia Kingdom. In the Nordia Kingdom, on Guild Street, a dark alleyway hid the sound of fists striking flesh. Ban drove his fist into a man's face, leaving him bloodied and weak. The man's broken gasps revealed the name of Anna Dalton, hinting that she knew something. Ban accepted the information coldly and moved on, his mind turning toward the urgency of the situation. There was no time to waste. Another disaster, like the one that had happened yesterday, could strike again. One day earlier, a violent burst of energy had erupted from Ban's body, shooting upward in a storm of uncontrolled power. Mana surged out of him wildly, threatening to tear him apart. Mana, invisible to the naked eye, was a mysterious force drifting across the universe. Those who could draw it into themselves and shape it through rune arts were known as sorcerers, their bodies acting as vessels to contain the energy. But if the flow of mana spiraled beyond control, the vessel would rupture. Death would follow as the body and the mana exploded together. Ban had struggled against the rampage of energy, forcing himself to seal it within his body before it consumed him. His breaths had come ragged and heavy, but he had managed to survive. It had been far too close. Now, in the present, as he walked, he reflected on the aftermath. With most of his mana sealed away, he could only wield a fraction of his power. To recklessly call upon it again would not merely burn his hair as before, it could consume his body entirely. To use the sealed mana safely, he would first need to uncover the cause of its rampage. Until then, he was bound to rely on only small fragments, no matter how inconvenient. His steps eventually brought him before a towering figure who blocked his path. The man informed him that Anna Dalton currently occupied the place ahead and ordered him to turn back. The one standing before him was Charlotte Ginny, only 18 years old. Ban's eyes narrowed at him, and with a swift strike, he drove a punch into Jenny's face, dropping him instantly. Without sparing another glance, Ban stepped over the fallen body, leaving the unconscious youth behind to sleep as he pressed onward. After Ban entered the building, 3 men approached him. One of them scolded him for arriving, insisting that no guests were supposed to be received that day. Ban stated that he was searching for a mercenary named Surak and had been told that someone there knew of him. His words drew an immediate reaction. From the hot water bath, another voice warned him of the danger of speaking that name so casually, claiming he could die without anyone knowing. Ban noted their reaction and pressed further, demanding to be told everything about the mercenary. Laughter followed, sharp and mocking, before the order was given to tear his mouth apart and bring him forward. The woman who gave that command was Anna Dalton, the #1 information dealer in Nordia's black market. At her words, the 3 men before him began to change. Fur sprouted across their skin, nails elongated into claws, and their heads reshaped into the snarling visages of wolves. The 3 transformed wolfmen growled and rushed toward Ban. Though he wished for a resolution through conversation, once again, it proved impossible. The first wolfman reached him, only to be struck hard across the face and then hammered in the stomach with such force that he was sent flying. Another lunged at Ban immediately, but he slipped past the strike, dodging fluidly. A third attacked, and again, Ban evaded. With both now pressing him, Ban prepared to counter. Fixing them with a steady gaze, he launched forward, and with one powerful blow drove his fist through them both. The attack smashed straight through the building itself. Turning back toward Anna, Ban demanded to know if she had finally considered speaking peacefully. She assessed him, realizing he was not merely a brat, but a sorcerer, though she admitted Surak was no longer there. At this, Ban asked where the mercenary had gone, but Anna reminded him she was only a merchant of information, and without payment, there would be none. Ban asked for the price. She seemed surprised at his sudden reasonableness, prompting him to explain himself. He insisted he was no murderer, claiming that he killed only because he was attacked, and if she could provide information, he would pay fairly. Anna calculated the price. Personal details on Surak and his current whereabouts would cost 10,000 gold. Ban admitted he did not have that much. She dismissed him as truly insane and not misunderstood, while he muttered about not expecting the cost to be so high. Anna held firm that without money, there would be no information. Ban asked if she wanted him simply to pay and wait. She questioned whether he had a source for the funds, then pried further, asking why he was looking for Surak. Noting the fierceness in his eyes, she wondered aloud if Surak had killed his family. Ban warned her to mind her own business before he ripped her mouth open, but Anna remained unfazed. almost amused by his boldness. In the kingdom of Nordia, on Mercenary Street, the registration hall bustled with activity. Inside the Mercenary building, Ban completed his registration, the official confirming that his application as a mercenary was now complete. When he asked when he would begin receiving work, he was told that jobs usually came quickly, but were given mostly to veterans, leaving newcomers waiting their turn. Ban accepted this with a quiet acknowledgement, though he sighed inwardly. It seemed the process would take longer than expected, but he reminded himself that he needed a way to make money regardless. In his thoughts, he considered the woman, Anna Dalton. If it had come to it, he might have threatened her for information, but she was no ordinary person. Making unnecessary enemies brought no benefit, and Aunt Kara had always advised him to earn money through honest work. As he reflected, someone approached the counter. A hooded figure requested mercenary work, specifying that it be suited for an inexperienced rookie. Ban turned slightly at this, and the man at the counter quickly pointed her toward him, noting that the newcomer beside her had just registered. She turned toward him, realizing he was the rookie in question, and he confirmed it. She responded that her job was simple. She only needed someone to watch her back for a day. Removing her hood, she revealed herself as Leon Arti, 18 years old. Ban looked at her blankly, dismissing her as crazy. The man at the counter misunderstood her request, telling her that if she wanted such work, she should head to the red light district. She protested quickly, clarifying that she was hiring bodyguards, not seeking something improper. She urged Ban to at least hear her pay before deciding, but he dismissed her, saying he wanted no employer who seemed insane. Another mercenary, however, stepped forward eagerly. He offered to take the job and asked about the pay. Arti explained it was 10,000 gold, which caught Ban's attention as he listened. She then refused the veteran mercenary, insisting that she needed a rookie rather than someone with a known face. The man grew angry, claiming he was better than any rookie, and he seized Arti roughly. She screamed for him to let go, but he shouted back, insisting she should be grateful for his help. Ban stepped forward, addressing the mercenary coldly. He told him to let go. The man turned in surprise, only to be met by Ban's sharp declaration that he was laying hands on his precious employer. Ban's glare cut through as he dismissed him as nothing more than a filthy meat sack. We now switch to a small village, where a desperate villager fell to his knees, begging the bandits to at least spare his son. The bandits dismissed the value of civilian homes, but noted that organ extraction could be quite profitable. One of them turned to their boss for direction, asking what should be done. The boss shifted the conversation, reminding them of yesterday's request, which involved kidnapping a daughter from the Leon family. The bandit confirmed this, and the boss ordered for the 3 most skilled to be chosen for the task and be put on standby. The boss ordered that the corpse be hung up and for them to depart immediately. Before the bandit could leave, however, the boss extended the power of his rune and seized him. Shock and fear overtook the man as he struggled to understand what he had done wrong. The boss, Merkel, calmly explained that it was not about a mistake. Rather, a single hanging corpse felt unsatisfying, and if they were to dissect him in the same manner and place him beside the other, the display would be perfect. We now switch back to Ban and Arti. As Ban ate, Arti slammed her hand down on the table, clearly upset. Ban was seated on the mercenary who had assaulted her, treating him like a chair. Arti, unable to contain herself, demanded he stop, but Ban only questioned if she wanted to try sitting as well. She refused, insisting he release the man. Despite Ban's careless behavior, Artie's thoughts betrayed a different judgment. She recognized that while he had violent tendencies, he was skilled, reliable, and without much experience. Exactly the kind of mercenary she had been looking for. Ban eventually moved to a regular chair, remarking with disappointment about the softness he had lost, while Artie reminded him not to treat people like objects. With that aside, Ban turned the discussion back to the job at hand. Artie explained that she needed escorting to the border of the Ohuana Kingdom, planning to cross through the forest, which would make the journey a day's travel. Ban questioned why such a task warranted a payment of 10,000 gold, suspecting that the job might involve hidden dangers, perhaps the heir of a noble family being pursued, or even a fleeing criminal. He began to voice his doubts, but Artie quickly cut him off, claiming she was simply the only daughter of a somewhat wealthy merchant, spoiled by her father's constant doting. If he was truly that suspicious, she told him, she would rather hire someone else. Ban dismissed the idea of mistrust, pretending to sound holy, though Artie could only curse him in her thoughts. When Ban asked when they should depart, Artie said the sooner the better. Without hesitation, Ban declared that they would leave immediately. Artie, surprised, questioned his urgency, but Ban explained that he could not waste a client's precious time. Resigned, Artie agreed to set off right away. We now switch to the Gaseolso mountain range, where Ban and Artie made their way through the forest. Artie observed that they seemed to be about halfway to their destination, and Ban agreed. Relieved, Artie thought that if things continued this smoothly, they would arrive safely, and perhaps she had hired the mercenary for nothing. Suddenly, Ban halted and signaled for her to wait. She questioned him, but he silenced her, focusing intently. His senses detected mana, footsteps rushing toward them quickly. There were 4 in total, one of them far more dangerous than the rest. Ban's focus locked onto Merkel, who in turn sensed Ban's probing. With irritation, Merkel fired a sudden blast of energy. Ban managed to dodge the attack just in time. Merkel ordered his men to capture Artie alive. The assailants surged forward at his command. Artie was struck with shock at the display of power. Ban, however, recognized the attack as only a threat and prepared himself for the real danger. As Ban was speaking, something suddenly rushed at his side. He turned and saw 3 assailants dashing toward him. 2 struck first, and he blocked their attacks. The 3rd veered off toward Artie, but Ban reacted swiftly, knocking back the 2 before him and driving a powerful kick into the stomach of the one closing in on her. The remaining pair launched another assault, but Ban dodged their strikes, then seized Artie and quickly pulled her away to create distance from the attackers. Ban ordered Artie to stay behind him from that point onward, and she agreed in a flustered panic. He demanded to know who these men were, asking if they were bandits as well. They told him to surrender the woman quietly and retreat, promising to let him pass unharmed. Ban responded coldly, demanding 10,000 gold if they wanted him to leave her behind. The bandits mocked him as a fool, and the 2 men charged again. They unleashed a furious storm of attacks, but Ban held firm, blocking every strike. When the assault came to a standstill, one of them muttered in disbelief, realizing Ban was only a boy. Ban scoffed, explaining that he had only been cautious on the chance they were sorcerers. With that, he vanished in an instant, reappearing before them and unleashing a relentless flurry of punches, gathering mana into his hand. He delivered the final blow that exploded with immense force. Reducing his opponents to nothing. He called them worthless as their remains fell. Artie looked on in stunned silence, He looked younger than her, yet wielded power that far surpassed anything she had imagined. If her father had seen such strength, he would have been both shocked and overjoyed. From deeper in the forest, Merkel's voice echoed, explaining that sorcerers born with rune arts could measure each other's mana, and the size of one's mana determined their skill. Ban had expected him to emerge sooner, thinking he had been hiding far too long. At last, Merkel appeared. He studied Ban with a cold gaze, astonished that such a boy could possess mana equal to his own. He considered whether it was natural talent and decided he should be dissected first, certain that a sorcerer of his level would have excellent organs. This was Merkel, the mad anatomist, leader of the Merkel Gang, a criminal organization steeped in heinous acts such as murder, kidnapping, and human trafficking. Merkel offered him a painless dissection if he handed over Artie willingly. Ban dismissed the offer without hesitation. Merkel replied that in that case, he would have to die, and he began to gather mana for an attack. At that moment, Ban turned to his client and asked about her earlier claim of being merely a merchant's daughter. She panicked, attempting to explain, but Ban silenced her, stating that he had no intention of listening. He seized her cloak and lifted her, holding her out before Merkel's gathering energy. Artie realized in horror that Ban had positioned her directly in front of the incoming blast. Merkel hesitated at the sight, taken aback, while Ban stared at him blankly as the attack was unleashed. After Merkel's powerful attack, Artie nearly lost her life and screamed in fear and outrage, berating Ban for his recklessness. Merkel reminded Ban that he was supposed to be her bodyguard, and she insisted on her authority as his employer. Ban, however, ignored her complaints as he analyzed the situation in silence. He noted how Merkel had adjusted the direction of his attack and twisted it away in that split second, recognizing him as a skilled sorcerer with a remarkable control over mana. From this, Ban deduced that Merkel's goal was not to kill Artie, but to capture her alive. Ban muttered to himself, correcting his slip of tongue when he almost referred to Artie as his money rather than his employer. He decided, for now, to overlook her earlier lie. Artie grew even more exasperated at his attitude, furious that he brushed off an attempt on her life so casually. Ban silenced her, stating his intent to throw her to safety. He ordered her to land properly and hide quietly, like a dead mouse. Artie froze in confusion and dread, her protests cut short when Ban seized her and hurled her through the air. Merkel immediately gave chase, demanding to know where she thought she was going. Before he could pursue her further, Ban caught him by the foot and gathered his mana. With a burst of power, he drove a devastating punch into Merkel, then followed up with another blow to his stomach, forcing him back though he did not fall. Merkel only grinned, seemingly thrilled by the resistance. Ban, however, realized something was off. He had struck Merkel with everything he had, yet it felt as though some invisible force had blocked the full impact. Merkel taunted him, promising to rip out his organs before going after Artie. Relishing the thought of the thrill it would bring, Merkel possessed the psychokinesis rune, a rune craft that manipulated an object's physical state through mana. It granted him the ability to discharge power in sudden, instantaneous bursts like shock waves. He unleashed a blast of energy at Ban, then lunged forward, delivering a powerful punch that Ban managed to block. The strike was reinforced by his rune, his body clad in psychokinetic energy that amplified his hand-to-hand combat to devastating levels. Ban retaliated with a heavy punch of his own, but Merkel remained unfazed. Extending his hand, Merkel fired another blast, forcing Ban to dodge before countering with another strike. Yet Ban's fist collided not with flesh, but with a barrier, an impenetrable shield of mana. The psychokinetic energy had formed a solid defense around Merkel, a runecraft art both formidable and frustrating, capable of repelling Ban's assault with ease. Merkel gloated, declaring it useless to resist. Though their mana levels were similar, their rune arts were not on the same level. He offered Ban a place at his side, promising him greater rewards. Merkel mocked Artie's payment, scoffing when Ban mentioned 10,000 gold, laughing that such a sum could be earned with ease by robbing a few civilian homes. His words stirred Ban's anger as he repeated the vile suggestion back at him, questioning if he truly robbed civilians. Proudly, Merkel admitted it without shame, boasting that they profited from assassination, kidnapping, robbery, and human trafficking, taking on any job without discrimination. He tempted Ban again, asking if the promise of such lucrative work had begun to interest him. A shadow fell across Ban's expression, and a dark smile crept onto his face. Merkel, mistaking it for agreement, laughed in triumph, believing his eye for talent had once again proven accurate. Ban laughed, not from amusement but from frustration and self-directed anger, disgusted that he had even entertained a conversation with someone he considered vermin. His decision was made. He would tear Merkel apart until he was unrecognizable. Merkel seethed, enraged that Ban would reject mercy when given the chance. Ban charged forward, unleashing a relentless storm of punches. Each strike was deflected by the invisible barrier of telekinesis. Merkel mocked him, confident in his defense, but Ban pressed on without hesitation. His fists hammered away, faster and harder, until finally one broke through. Merkel's eyes widened in shock as Ban's blow shattered the defense and struck home. The assault continued mercilessly. Ban landed a crushing punch that tore one of Merkel's arms clean off, then drove his fist into Merkel's stomach, hurling him backward. Furious, Merkel screamed that he no longer desired Ban's organs. Instead, Ban would pay the price for ignoring his mercy. A massive surge of mana erupted from him as he prepared his ultimate attack, psychokinetic blood strike. Merkel's energy ripped through the forest, a cataclysmic blast that reduced everything in its path to ruin. Even as he fired, Merkel cried out in disbelief, insisting that Ban's mana should have been similar to his own, demanding to know how it was possible. His words broke into frantic shouts as he questioned how Ban had managed to withstand his psychokinesis. But Ban stood calmly, his hand raised, effortlessly blocking the devastating force. With cold disdain, he revealed the truth. Their mana was not the same at all. In an instant, Ban released his true power. The vast, monstrous surge of energy shook Merkel to his core, leaving him horrified by the enormity of it. Ban declared the end and dashed forward, appearing before Merkel in a blink. He summoned the rune of Asura. The first manifested armament, Annihilation Fist, took form. A gauntlet imbued with the terrifying power to annihilate matter at the particle level. Its destructive force was not fixed, but scaled in proportion to the user's mana, making it a weapon of limitless devastation in the hands of one with immense energy. With this power coursing through him, Ban unleashed another barrage of crushing blows, culminating in a final strike that punched clean through Merkel's chest. After finishing off Merkel, Ban wrapped the bandages back around his arms. The space surrounding Merkel's body still crackled with the lingering energy of his attack, unstable and ominous. As Ban walked away, the energy suddenly detonated in a massive explosion that tore through the area. He did not look back, his steps steady, as as he muttered darkly to himself about fetching his dear employer. Runecraft held the power to arm the entire body with blades, to transcend space and time, to tear through the land, and to cut through mountains. These were supernatural forces that defied the divine order of the universe and surpassed the laws of physics. Among them, the rune known as Asura's rune was branded as the worst in history. Through the actions of the boy who carried this cursed power, a new history was beginning to be written upon the continent of Atun. Ban approached Arti, relieved to see her unharmed. Arti, however, burst out in frustration at his reckless charge into danger. Ban struck the tree behind her and glared, accusing her of hiding something from him. Though she grew nervous, he dismissed his suspicion, calming himself, and demanded his payment as promised. She quickly handed him a pouch containing 10,000 gold. After taking the gold, Ban turned to leave. Arti tried to call out to him but faltered, ultimately holding back her words. Ban declared that he was truly leaving this time. Inwardly, Arti lamented her inability to bring such a young mercenary further into her family's struggles. Though she wished she could take him to the estate, she knew it was impossible to drag him into war. With that thought, she resolved to hurry back to her family. The scene shifted to the third residence of Anna Dalton in the kingdom of Nordia. Ban tossed the pouch of coins before her. Anna noted his evident backing, while Ban pressed for the information he had been promised. Anna accepted only half the payment, admitting she had failed to locate Lord Kesurak directly, explaining that he was too thorough to trace. Instead, she offered to tell Ban of someone who might know both Kesurak's whereabouts and information about him. She spoke of Tize, a mercenary group active across countless criminal fields: murder, kidnapping, human trafficking, assassination, counterintelligence, espionage, sabotage, and information warfare. Their leader, she revealed, was none other than Lord Kesurak himself. Around 5 years ago, Tize had risen rapidly, expanding their influence until they could control a small fringe kingdom, growing so vast that even locating their main base had become nearly impossible. Because of this, tracking Kesurak's whereabouts had become exceedingly difficult, yet Anna declared she was not easily outmatched. She revealed that she had managed to uncover the identity and location of one of Tize's executives. Producing a poster, she pointed to a man with a long facial scar, identifying him as a brutal assassin born with the pattern of concealment, one who had never failed an assassination. Ben reasoned that if this man was part of Tize, he might know where Kesurak was. He asked where the assassin could be found. Anna explained that, according to her intelligence, by now he should be in a particular place. Before she could reveal the location, the scene shifted again. This time to the capital city of Valhelde, in the kingdom of Bogra, at the headquarters of the Merkel gang. The ground was strewn with corpses. Inside, several men fled in terror as another pursued them. A few more were swiftly cut down, while one cursed their fate, demanding to know why such slaughter was being carried out against them. Their pursuer, calm and unrelenting, explained that he was only following orders, likely because they had failed the mission entrusted to them by Lord Kesurak. The men, desperate, shouted back that the failure had not been their fault. They had not been warned about the monster-like mercenary who had acted as her bodyguard. Because of that, they had lost their leader, Lord Merkel. The attacker admitted some regret over the matter, though he confessed Even they had not anticipated Merkel being taken down by a mercenary from some backwater. The survivors seethed with outrage, calling the massacre excessive for a single failure. Their pursuer dismissed their cries, framing it as punishment, reminding them that they were all low-grade killers, regardless. Merkel's men snapped, laughing bitterly before shouting their defiance. A command was given, and they charged all at once, declaring their intent to kill the assassin. One of them unleashed the power of his rune, the touch rune, granting him the ability to conjure and control giant hands made of mana. A massive hand seized the attacker, and the others rushed in to finish the job. Yet in the midst of their assault, the assassin calmly offered his apologies. In the next instant, he vanished from sight. Panic spread through Merkel's men as they realized he had disappeared. A heartbeat later, they were all cut down in a flash. Silence fell over the battlefield, broken only when another figure approached and asked the assassin if the task was complete. The assassin pointed to the blood-soaked ground, telling him to see for himself if he doubted. The other man, however, expressed no doubts, confident in the assassin's flawless efficiency. Dismissing him curtly, the assassin demanded that he leave. Before going, the man mentioned that an investigation was underway into the mercenary who had killed Merkel. Rumor had it that this mercenary bore a black scar across his eyes and neck. The assassin immediately understood what this meant. It was another target assigned for him to eliminate. The other man praised his sharpness, remarking on why Lord Kaesarak refused to release him from his service. Irritated, the assassin silenced him, prompting the man to withdraw with a final promise to report the events to Kaesarak. Alone once more, the assassin lit a cigarette. His thoughts lingered on the description. Black scars on the eyes and neck in the Bogra kingdom, a place not far from his current location. He wondered about this individual's name. At the same time, Ban wondered the same about him. The assassin resolved himself, declaring that he had one more person to kill. This man was Haksa, an executive of the Tize mercenary group. Two children stood in the forest, trapped beneath the gaze of a massive monster whose attention was fixed entirely on them. Fear surged between them as one, in desperation, turned to the other for hope. But Magat could offer nothing, admitting he could not think of any way to escape. The creature lunged toward them, its monstrous form closing the distance swiftly. Before it could reach them, Ban appeared from behind, leaping high into the air. With a single decisive strike, he shot downward, his fist tearing straight through the beast. The monster collapsed instantly, its body crashing into the earth as its remains splattered across the ground. The children stood frozen, wide-eyed at the sight before them. Unable to believe what had just occurred, Ban turned his attention to them, ensuring their safety. The children, shaken but grateful, expressed their relief and gratitude. He warned them that the area was crawling with monsters and urged them to leave quickly. They tried to repay his kindness, insisting they at least treat him to a meal. Ban dismissed the thought, though he mentioned he was searching for a shop in the area. Curious, the children pressed to know which shop, and Ban revealed he was looking for a tavern called the Blue Knight. To his surprise, the children's eyes widened. They revealed that the tavern was their own family's shop. Ofen, the elder sister, quickly introduced herself as the cook of the Blue Knight and introduced her younger brother Magat as well. Ban gave his name, and the siblings urged him to come with them without hesitation. On the outskirts of the Bogra kingdom stood the small shop known as the Blue Knight. Ofen and Magat approached, their voices carrying excitement as they announced their return. Hasia,
already busy with preparations, scolded them for taking so long, pointing out that all the ingredients had already been readied. Often explained hurriedly that they had encountered a monster on the way back. Panic struck Hasia, who demanded to know if they were hurt, but often reassured her that they were safe, thanks to someone who had come to their rescue. She then introduced Ban as their savior, explaining that he had not only saved them, but had also been on his way to this very shop. Hasia questioned why he would be heading to their shop, but often cut her off and instructed her simply to show him in. Once inside, Often invited Ban to take a seat wherever he wished. Ban's gaze moved about the room, and he questioned whether only children were running the place. Often clarified that it was not truly their shop, but rather a place they were living in together. She explained that none of them were related by blood. Each had come from different kingdoms. Lily and Ayin had lost their parents in the war. Hasia's village had been destroyed by monsters. Magat's family had been killed by mercenaries. All of them should have perished long ago, but they were saved when a man brought them here and took care of them. Ban asked about this man, and often confirmed he was the owner of the shop and their first savior. Wondering aloud what he was doing now, she was told by Hasia that he had likely been sleeping since he had returned late from work the previous night. Often sighed in frustration, remarking that she would have to wake him herself, scolding the idea that he could simply sleep when a guest was present. With that, she went to fetch the shop owner, leaving Ban to settle in and prepare for his meal. Often entered the man's room and demanded that he stop sleeping, scolding him for staying in bed when Magat had nearly been killed by a monster on the way back. At her words, the man sat upright in alarm, immediately asking if the children were hurt. Often reassured him that they were safe, explaining that a kind person had saved them. She then told him that this same person had been heading to their shop. Realizing this, the man agreed that he could not simply remain in bed and decided he should at least go down to greet their guest. Together, they descended the stairs, and Ofan pointed out Ban seated at a table. The man approached and expressed his gratitude, thanking Ban for saving the children. Ban brushed aside the thanks, noting that he had only been passing through, though he admitted that the encounter had turned into something far more interesting. He remarked that the man resembled the person he had been searching for. The man denied this possibility, claiming he was nothing more than the owner of an unpopular shop in the middle of nowhere. Ban explained that an informant had told him directly that the owner of the shop was a fantastic cook. Haksa admitted that it was a truly unexpected source. Ban then requested to see his skills for himself. Haksa responded that the children tended to grow rowdy when he was in the kitchen, and he feared their noise might disturb Ban's rest. Ban suggested meeting early the next morning instead, when the children would still be asleep. Haksa agreed to this arrangement. Ban stated that he would retire early for the night, and Haksa called it a wise decision. Haksa then instructed Ofan to show Ban to a spare room. Ofan, somewhat surprised at how quickly Haksa had warmed to Ban, asked about his sudden openness. Haksa responded cryptically, claiming that they were the same kind and could understand each other, though his expression carried a murderous intent that Ofan failed to notice. Ofan led Ban to his room and told him he could sleep there, offering her help if he needed anything. As she was about to leave, Ban stopped her and told her not to thank him, reminding her that it was not as though he had saved them on purpose. Ofan found this strangely familiar, recalling that the man who had once saved her had said the exact same thing. She left him to rest, bidding him a good night. Later that night, Haksa quietly entered Ban's room. He approached the bed and
and drove his blade downward, but Ban reacted instantly, stopping the strike and countering with a powerful punch. With cold certainty, Ban told him he had been waiting for this moment.
Earlier, Haksa was in his room, speaking into a communication device.
He reported to a member of the Tize mercenary group that the sorcerer suspected of killing Merkel, marked by black scars on the eyes and neck, was currently in his tavern. The man on the other end expressed satisfaction, saying it saved him the trouble, and instructed Haksa to summon him there immediately using the formation. Haksa, however, hesitated. If the target sensed anything, he might run. Haksa assured the man that he would first ensure there was no chance of escape before summoning him. The man agreed to wait. Back in the present, Haksa faced Ban. Ban seethed with contempt, accusing him of taking in children while secretly killing people like a rat behind the scenes. Haksa replied sarcastically that he was sorry he could not be a better adult for him.
Ban ignored the words and demanded to know the whereabouts of Kesurak. Haksa realized with unease that Ban had come already knowing everything about Tize. Despite this, he stated he could not reveal the information. Ban, unfazed, warned that he would cut off his limbs one by one and see if he could still refuse. Haksa offered him one last chance to turn back, promising to act as if he had never seen him. Ban pressed on, questioning who it was that had just tried to kill him earlier, referring to Haksa's own attempt on his life. Accepting the inevitable, Haksa took out a sheet of paper and activated a formation. A bright light burst forth, sweeping across the room and enveloping Ban. In an instant, they were transported away from the tavern. In another location, light poured out and Ban reappeared. He looked around, realizing he was now in a cave. His mind immediately began to analyze the situation. He recognized the phenomenon as a formation, something he had once heard Uncle Partel mention, a form of runecraft where power is inscribed into letters or images. When mana is poured into it, the stored power can be unleashed at any time. It is usually cast through paper as a medium, but can also be set up using certain places or objects. Ban's thoughts shifted to Haksa. He wondered where his opponent had gone, and briefly considered the possibility that he had fled. Suddenly, a slash tore through the air, and Ban narrowly dodged, earning a shallow cut on his cheek. More slashes followed, forcing him to leap backward to evade. Regaining his stance, Ban dashed forward and launched a powerful punch that struck the wall of the cave, missing Haksa completely. He glanced around in frustration, noting that Haksa had vanished again. A presence appeared behind him, and Haksa struck. Ban reacted instantly, barely evading the blade, but taking another cut to his cheek. He quickly created distance and stilled himself. He realized he could not see Haksa with the naked eye, nor sense his presence, not even hear the faintest sound. This, Ban understood, was the power of Haksa's runecraft. Haksa remained concealed, silently observing. He was using a concealing rune, a technique that allowed one to erase their presence completely. When he attacked again, Ban evaded and ran through the narrow, dark cave, knowing that dodging was hard enough, but locating Haksa under such conditions was even harder. Another attack came, and Ban dodged once more. Determined, Ban shot forward. Haksa was shocked as he saw him closing the distance, and could barely finish his thought before Ban's hand was around his throat. Haksa's concealment was useless. Ban explained that hiding the body would not work because he could still see the mana. This was the power of the second manifested armament, the Truth Eye, which allowed Ban to perceive even the faintest traces of mana, undetectable to normal senses.
Haxa's disbelief was clear. Just before Ban slammed him into the ground, the impact sending a shockwave reverberating through the cave. Haxa lay on the ground, his body battered from the impact, yet he spoke with a strange calm. In his 40 years as an assassin, Ban was only the second sorcerer who had ever been able to find him by sensing mana alone. Ban ignored the remark and demanded to know where Kesurak was. Haxa deflected, speaking instead about the children under his care, remarking that they were adorable. Ban's patience snapped. He seized one of Haxa's arms, demanding an answer. When none came, he ripped the arm off, drawing a scream of agony from Haxa. Bloodied and writhing, Haxa finally spoke, admitting that Kesurak's order had led him to slaughter countless people, leaving him a man beyond forgiveness. Ban warned that if Haxa wished to confess anything else, he would rip off the remaining arm as well. Despite the pain and condemnation hanging over him, Haxa declared that he could not die yet, not until he had protected the children. With grim resolve, he apologized in advance and produced another sheet of paper, activating a second formation. Ban's eyes widened as he recognized the spellwork. Another formation! Before he could react, a figure emerged from the portal, created by the formation, and struck him with sudden force. Ban was knocked back, leaping to gain distance as he steadied himself. The figure stood tall, their presence commanding, and declared that they had finally found the sorcerer who had killed Merkel. Ban's expression darkened as he stepped forward, seemingly unfazed by the interruption, and with a cold edge, he reminded the figure that he had been in the middle of a conversation. Ban inspected the wound where he had been struck, noting how deep the cut was. The man who had appeared studied the black scars on Ban's eyes and neck, remarking that for Ban to have driven Haxa this far, it truly seemed that he was the one who had killed Merkel. Haxa was beside the man, warning him to be cautious, explaining that Ban had managed to find him through mana, and that even he could not determine what level of sorcerer Ban was. The man, clearly impressed, turned to Haxa and commented on how incredible it was that someone so young possessed such power. Ban called out to the man who had just appeared, demanding answers to his questions. The man responded with curiosity, and Haxa clarified that Ban had been asking for Kesurak's location. The man dismissed the possibility of getting any answers, declaring that no one there would respond to Ban's question. This man was Vergeten, an executive of the Tizay mercenary group. Realizing that words would not resolve the situation, Ban prepared to fight. He dashed forward, closing the distance with deadly intent. Haxa quickly retreated, but Vergeten stood firm. Ban gathered his mana as Vergeten's summoned beast readied itself for battle. The two forces collided with tremendous power, Ban's punch meeting the beast's strike in an impact that shook the ground. Haxa suddenly appeared behind Ban, but Ban reacted instantly, spinning to face him. Haxa slashed, but Ban evaded both him and the beast by leaping high into the air. While in the air, Ban gathered mana into his hand and prepared his attack. He struck as the beast raised its hand to block. Ban noted that blocking it was probably not a good choice. He released the mana he had built up and punched straight through the beast's hand with overwhelming force. Landing back on the ground, Ban dashed toward Vergeten once more, unfazed. Vergeten acknowledged Ban's strength, impressed that someone his age had achieved such mastery as a sorcerer, but he warned that the beasts he could summon were not limited to one. With the rune of summoning, a subspace connected to another dimension allowed him to store and retrieve anything he needed, and he used this power to call forth more beasts to confront Ban. Ban, undeterred, pressed forward with the intent to knock them all down. Suddenly, Huxa struck him, taking advantage of Ban's lowered guard. Ban felt both of his hamstrings slashed, and before he could recover, the summoned beasts crashed into him, piling over his body and pressing him into the ground. Ban struggled against the crushing weight, cursing his situation. Vergeten peered down at him, remarking that even one of the beasts would have been enough to crush a normal sorcerer, and wondering what kind of rune sorcery could allow Ban to endure such a situation. Perhaps a type of body enhancement. Ban, pinned but defiant, demanded answers once again, insisting that he was the only one allowed to ask questions. Vergeten, rather than answering, expressed admiration for Ban's fiery spirit and declared his decision to make Ban into an assassin of Tize, after first breaking him and making him his precious little slave. The rune of taming activated, a power designed to infiltrate the opponent's spiritual world, shatter their existing ego, and recreate a new one as the caster desired. Ban was stunned to realize that Vergeten possessed a second rune. Vergeten placed his hands on Ban's head, initiating the process and declaring that Ban was being reborn. His consciousness was then pulled into Ban's mindscape. Within Ban's mental world, Vergeten found himself unsettled. Using the rune of taming, he had enslaved countless beasts and sorcerers alike, and not once had this ability failed him. Confident in his power, he had believed that no matter how strong his target might be, this time would be no different. But he was unprepared for what awaited him inside Ban's mind. Ban's mind was the mind of a boy, neither fully living nor truly dead. One who had endured centuries of agony and had been shaped entirely by an unyielding desire for revenge. The darkness of that mental world, twisted by years of suffering, was unlike anything Vergeten had ever encountered. The sight of it terrified him, and he was violently expelled from Ban's mindscape. When Vergeten returned to his own senses, his face was filled with fear. Ban glared at him with a cold, piercing look, as if to warn him not to intrude on such a place again. Vergeten, shaken and unable to believe what he had just experienced, muttered in horror at the monstrous will he had faced. In the next moment, Ban struck him with a powerful punch,